Here's the thing. Most people think the biggest threat to their finances is bad spending habits. Too many coffees. Too many subscriptions. Impulse shopping. And look, those matter. But statistically, one of the most financially destructive events in your life won't be something you choose. It'll be something that chooses you. No warning.
No properascen. No imouscen el stability.
And when it happens, you won't be comparing prices. You'll be apologizing for even thinking about money. That moment is how the funeral industry became a multi-billion-dollar empire. My name is Noble, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money behaves when emotions take over logic. And if you're someone who tries to save, tries to be responsible, but still feels like life keeps ambushing your finances, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And give this video a thumbs up if this helps you understand money a little better. Because today we're talking about how funeral businesses quietly became billion-dollar empires, and what that means for your future. Let's start with numbers. According to the National Funeral Directors Association, the average funeral in the United States costs $7,848 for burial, $6,971 for cremation. That's the basic service. Add flowers, transportation, obituary fees, food, time off work. Most families spend $10,000 to $15,000 within a few days. Now here's the uncomfortable part. The U.S. Federal Reserve reports that 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing. So mathematically, a funeral is 25 to 35 times larger than what the average household can handle in cash. That gap is where empires are built. Look, normally when prices go up, people push back. Gas gets expensive, people complain. Rent goes up, people move. Phones cost more, people wait. Funerals?
No delay. No negotiation.
No emotional space. Economists call this inelastic demand, which means the buyer has no practical alternative. Death doesn't wait for payday. Grief doesn't respect budgets. So the industry doesn't compete on price. It competes on urgency. And urgency is priceless. Here's what most people don't realize. When humans experience grief, the brain literally changes how it functions. Neuroscience studies from institutions like Harvard Medical School show that intense emotional stress suppresses the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, planning, and financial judgment. At the same time, the emotional system, the amygdala, takes control. In simple terms, your budgeting brain shuts off. Your protection brain turns on. You're not thinking, is this overpriced? You're thinking, what choice will hurt the least emotionally? And that is a very expensive question. Let me tell you about David. Not his real name. David's father passed away unexpectedly. David had $4,200 in savings. He thought that was responsible. He walked into a funeral home thinking he'd spend maybe $3,000. 3 hours later, he signed paperwork totaling $11,300. Why? Because the salesman didn't pressure him. He sympathized. He said things like, "You don't want to regret this later." Most families choose this option. This is a beautiful way to honor him. David didn't want luxury. He wanted peace. He paid with 2 credit cards. It took him 3 years to recover. Now let's talk numbers again. A standard metal coffin costs funeral homes about $300 to $700 wholesale. They sell it for $2,500, $4,000, $7,000, sometimes $10,000 plus. That's a markup of 400% to 1,200%. Now you might be thinking, okay, but maybe they last forever? No. Most coffins degrade within 10 to 15 years underground. They don't preserve the body long term. They don't protect against nature. They serve symbolism. You're not buying durability. You're buying emotional reassurance. Originally, funeral homes were small family businesses. Then Wall Street noticed something interesting. A business that never runs out of customers, never experiences seasonality, isn't disrupted by technology, can raise prices without backlash. So corporations began buying them. Today, Service Corporation International, SCI, owns over 1,900 funeral homes and 500 cemeteries worldwide. Their revenue in 2023? $4.1 billion. Carriage Services owns hundreds more. But here's the trick. They keep the local names. So families believe they're supporting the community. But the profits go to shareholders, not neighbors. Funeral homes don't sell items. They sell packages. Basic, standard, premium. This is Behavioral Economics 101. Nobody wants to choose the cheap goodbye. So people upgrade. Not logically. Morally. Psychologists call this loss aversion. We fear emotional regret more than financial loss. So we overspend to avoid guilt. And guilt is one of the most profitable emotions on earth. This part sounds cold, but it's true. Funeral companies are classified as defensive stocks. They perform well during recessions, inflation, pandemics, stock market crashes. In 2020, when airlines collapsed, funeral corporations posted record profits. To investors, death is predictable demand. To families, it's chaos. Same transaction, different emotional reality. Let's do real math. Assume your household saves $400 per month. That's good. A $12,000 funeral equals 30 months of savings. 2.5 years. Gone in 1 week. Paid with credit cards at 20% interest. Or personal loans. Or selling assets at a loss. And that debt is carried while grieving. Which is why psychologists describe sudden financial loss as secondary trauma. You're not just sad. You're financially destabilized. Now you might be thinking, planning funerals feels morbid. Yes. But so does debt. Or, I'm young, I'll deal with this later. Statistically, accidents and illness don't care about age. Or, my family will figure it out. They will. Emotionally. And financially. At the worst possible time. Here's what financially responsible people actually do. Not emotionally brave people. Not wealthy people. Prepared people. Set a funeral budget now. Pick a number. $3,000. $5,000. $7,000. Write it down. That alone creates boundaries. Document your wishes. Burial or cremation. Service or no service. Simple or traditional. This removes emotional guessing later. Price shop in advance. Funeral homes must provide price lists by law in many countries. Compare. Calmly. Logically. Not in grief. Create a death buffer fund. Separate savings account. Label it. Even $20 per month becomes $2,400 in 10 years. That reduces debt dramatically. Tell one trusted person. So someone knows the plan exists. That's it. You don't need drama. You need structure. Here's what most people don't realize. Funerals are just one example. The same psychology happens during medical emergencies, job loss, divorce, natural disasters. Emotion overrides logic. And companies profit from that. We don't lose money because we're stupid. We lose money because we're human. Look. Funeral businesses didn't become empires by being evil. They became empires by understanding human psychology better than most families do. They sell certainty during chaos. And humans will pay anything for certainty. But awareness changes everything. Planning changes everything. You don't become wealthy by predicting markets. You become wealthy by reducing financial disasters. If this video helped you think differently, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Noble Invests if you want calm, honest conversations about money that actually affect real life. And remember, the noblest financial move is protecting your family when you're not there to protect them yourself. I'll see you next time.